how is this movie not in 3D? You're watching Beyond the Trailers review of Into the Storm.
This is what you guys do for a living.
They chase. I study.
Watch out! And it was close. Dude, my arm hurts.
All the warning sirens are down. If a tornado's coming your way, you're not gonna know it.
Hey guys, it's splitting.
There's another one. There's 3, 4. They're everywhere.
I study storms all my life. And this one is bigger than any storm that has ever been.
The winds in this movie are so strong they blew off all of Thor and Oakenshield's prosthetics. Behold, this is what Richard Armitage really looks like. Weird, right? Yet before he became known the world over as the rightful Dwarf King with a major chip on his shoulder, Armitage was sort of a Colin Firth light over on the BBC. And while Armitage is no stranger to franchises, he also had bit parts in Star Wars Episode I, The Phantom Menace, and Captain America the Winter Soldier. Starring in them is a new endeavor, even itty-bitty potential blockbusters like Into the Storm. This evil weather flick not only is the latest in Hollywood's natural disaster trend, but also mixes in the current found footage trend. Think Cloverfield meets 2012, but on a much smaller budget. The behind-the-scenes story on Into the Storm is actually pretty interesting. Made for just $50 million, about half of that went towards special effects. Yet the film hit a major roadblock when Rhythm and Hughes filed for bankruptcy and had to drop out of the film, tossing $3 million worth of work into the trash. Yet director Stephen Quayle, an experienced second-unit director who'd worked on special effects-heavy movies like Avatar, rose to the challenge and planned out all of the shots of the film in advance so as not to waste time and resources. Then, with a little extra cash thanks to a hefty tax incentive from Michigan, where the film was shot, Quayle spread the special effects work out among several companies to safeguard against another one potentially going under, where this time the picture might not survive. Side note, how tragic is it that special effects houses are on such shaky ground these days that these tactics to protect a movie have become business as usual? Quayle then personally worked with each special effects house to make sure the work lined up in the final product because the film couldn't afford a special effects supervisor. Another blow for the special effects industry. Anyway, in a period where Hollywood seems to overspend, it's certainly interesting to see what they do in the opposite situation. But is the behind-the-scenes story more interesting than the movie itself? I'm getting really tired of the found footage genre. It's not as clever as Hollywood thinks it is. It puts distance, I think, between you and the story. You're not there. Literally, you're not there. You're watching a filmed tape of someone who was there. And here with this movie, beyond creating that distance, it just gets in the way of the story. For instance, this movie is so consumed with being in the moment, jumping between characters, storylines, locations, that nothing really registers. Period. Forget registering emotionally, it just simply does not register. And the film doesn't make any investments in any of this. They're just moving around so quickly, it doesn't take the time or effort to flesh any of it out. I guess they feel they're relying on a special effects reel, but I think even there, it's not anything new or exciting that you haven't seen on, just a special effects reel. It plays maybe like a special effects reel, and I don't even know if I would hire this person because no shots here, no pun intended, but blew me away. Now the actor, interestingly, who came off the best here, Richard Armitage, is getting all the attention publicity-wise because, of course, he's Thor and Oakenshield over in the Hobbit trilogy. But Matt Walsh in the actual film, he's from Veep. He's the guy with the red hair and the mustache. He's a popular comedian, or semi-popular, at least popular enough that you would know who I'm talking about if you saw him, that guy. Or I put up a picture because I'm afraid I don't think he has name recognition. But I think Matt Walsh came off the best because for a couple of reasons. I think he did a very nice job with his role. He did the best that he could with what he had. It was refreshing to see a comedic actor like this given a role with a little bit of depth to it, and he was really the only character to have a story arc, a character arc, whereas everybody else in the film came off as just a movie stereotype. Matt Walsh seemed like a real person as opposed to the divorced dad, the lone female scientist that doesn't get along with anybody, the teenage couple that are flirting, they've just met, the snotty little brother, etc., etc., etc. As soon as you meet them, you know how it's all going to play out. So I know this film did a lot of research. I mean, I got to do the red carpet interviews, and I was really impressed with, how much work and effort everyone put into the film. But unfortunately, that just did not translate into a great movie. And I think very little of that knowledge is actually utilized. They might know a lot about tornadoes, but they didn't pass it on. I didn't learn anything about tornadoes or storm chasing from watching this movie. And while I haven't watched it myself, I would imagine that the reality shows that they have on about storm chasers and documentaries would be a much better use of your time if you're interested in this subject matter. Even Twister, that old film, with Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton about storm chasers, not a particularly memorable or, film for the ages, but still better than this one. This film was like, the video that they show before you go on a ride in a theme park to kind of set the tone? That's like this movie is, only you're watching it for an hour and a half before the 3-minute ride at the end, which just is only so-so. You're like, I shouldn't have stood on that line. It wasn't worth it. Also, speaking of the end, no spoilers here, but I just wanted to say that, Matt Walsh is his character is central to the end. And there's a moment at the end of the film, which at first made the audience that I was with laugh because it's just so absurd. But then the sadness of it just hits you, and that was a downer. I mean, absurdly sad is never a good combination for anything. So I really can't recommend Into the Storm. It's not even in 3D, which I find very odd considering the subject matter. But the only people I think should watch it maybe are in schools in tornado country so that they can maybe be reminded to take these weather warnings seriously. So this is just basically a public service announcement that you should watch for free. Okay, so that's my review of Into the Storm. If you've seen the film, I hope you'll share your own reviews down below. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you can check out some more episodes right now.